Hello, everyone. Good morning, wherever you are. I guess it's going to be morning for many of you around the world, and good evening for those of you that are here in the US, I would imagine. So this video is going to be about DV 2020. There has been an order released by Judge Mehta. My dog's excited about it. And so finally we've got an order from Judge Mehta, and basically it's a long order, around 50-60 pages or so, and it will need some digesting, but I can give you the sort of the headlines and the sort of the conclusion, as it were. And the conclusion is it's good news. DV 2020 is going to get its visas processed, but there's a couple of key points that I think that we want to discuss, and they'll be important for DV 2020, but also for DV 2021, and perhaps even for DV 2022. Right? So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that now. Okay, so let me just see. Yeah, we've got a few people online, and just for now, hold your questions, right? Don't be asking questions at the moment. I'm definitely going to have to ignore the first few questions that are asked, and they'll just be lost. So don't ask any questions right now. Let's talk about the conclusion. The Judge Mehta, in his order, has there's always going to be sort of a legalese, a sort of a jargon to this, and there's going to be some nuance in the detail of that, and the lawyers will go through this with a fine-tooth comb, as it were, to try and figure out exactly what it all means. But there, I've said multiple times over the last few months, I did not expect Judge Mehta to be really prescriptive in many aspects of the judgment. This is just a high-level judgment, right? The bottom line is he's saying that 9,095 visas, the visas that he reserved under the order made last year, September 30th last year, will be issued. And he said that they should be issued in a random order, until, so defendants, it says briefly at the end here, defendants shall process DV 2020 applications in a random order until all 9,095 diversity visas have been granted. Then there's going to be a discussion, some sort of way of organizing, and they've got to organize by August 25th the timeline for that to happen, right? So there will be issuance of 9,095 visas, and 9,095 visas, although it's not as many as we wanted, it's going to take care of a lot of the cases, I can tell you. I don't want to sort of go into too much detail about that, but the estimation of the amount of demand was estimated and overestimated, I would say. So 9,095 is actually a pretty good amount to actually get us quite a number of the cases issued, and it's on top of the 6,500-7,000 visas we got issued last September as well. So it's quite an extraordinary win. It's going to increase the number of visas to nearly 30,000 visas out of DV 2020, which is going to be very important. And so this is a huge win. This is absolutely marvelous news, really. It could have gone either way, obviously. I think it's been fairly obvious from Judge Mehta's position on this that to me, it was looking very good that he was going to issue these visas. But I didn't want to sort of build any false hope, and so I was cautious about how I discussed that. There's a couple of other things which I think are going to be really important, and I know people are going to want to talk about DV 2020, and I will come back to that. But there's some really important points here, right? In the judgment, Judge Mehta has said this: the court grants plaintiffs motions for partial summary judgment as to the claims that, number one, the no visa policy is not in accordance with law and is arbitrary and capricious. That's a really good point. Defendants acted arbitrarily and capriciously in excluding in excluding diversity visas from mission critical processing. Really important point. And defendants unreasonably delayed and unlawfully withheld adjudication of their diversity visas. In addition, the court denies as moot the non-DV immigrants plaintiffs' claims, really dismissing the other aspects which were not about DV, because the original Gomez case had a lot of other types of visa classes, and only the diversity visa lottery selectees, only that class was granted, only that class won. And the plaintiffs claim that the national interest exception violates the APA. Violates the APA. Yeah, so he's denying that as moot as well. So that's not a problem. And then the Mohammed Fongjong and Kennedy plaintiffs' motion to limit review to the administrative records and strike defendants' extra record evidence and references, ECF, blah, 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 and plaintiffs' remaining claims that the proclamations are unlawful. So those four things there were denied as moot. The last four things I just said have been denied, but they're not. I don't believe they're critical. Curtis may see these as differently. There's a point there specifically on the Mohammed Fongjong and Kennedy cases, which is a loss for that case, but it doesn't mean that that those cases, their plaintiffs have, the individuals have lost. Doesn't mean that at all. It's just about one aspect of Curtis's case there. So the main point being that defendants shall process the DV 2020 applications in a random order until all 9,095 diversity visas have been granted. That's good news. It doesn't say anything about the timeline. The timeline has to be discussed. I'm about to get 100 questions, I'm sure, about what's going to happen, when am I going to be interviewed? I don't know. The reason I stressed a couple of those points at the beginning there, 1, 2, and 3, the no visa policy being not accordance with law and is arbitrary and capricious. That's important for DV 2021. Defendants acted arbitrarily and capriciously in excluding diversity visas from mission critical processing. That's important, very important, I would say, for DV 2021 and for DV 2022, frankly, because it speaks to it's basically saying, well, why did you not treat them as mission critical? And mission critical is what I was asking for a few months ago, and some of the lawyers actually, frankly, argued with me. But mission critical was the important part of what we should have got for DV 2021, because there's this tier system in place, and the tier system is screwing everything up for DV 2021. If you put us in the 4th tier, which is what what the government has done, and don't treat us as mission critical, or don't treat us as a high preference, then we can't possibly get all the visas for DV 2021 through, and also it will impact DV 2022. So we needed some piece of law to start attacking that. And this, frankly, this judgment on DV 2020 may be something that the lawyers can leverage to actually take down this stupid prioritization scheme that the government implemented. He doesn't say why, and I think that's going to be where we'll have to read the rest of the judgment, about why he said, that point about the mission critical processing. But I think that's important. And then the unreasonable delay and unlawfully withholding adjudication of diversity visas. Again, that's going to be important for DV 2021, which had that same sort of process. Don't forget, Judge Mehta last September suddenly told the government to stop behaving the way they were behaving in not processing cases, in not having interviews, etc. And the government said, okay, we'll get on with that. And from September 4th to September 30th, they worked on DV cases. Great. And then October 1st, they reverted to exactly the same thing that they'd been doing before. They blocked all efforts. They didn't process cases. We've got the evidence of that. And so it's clear that they just ignored Judge Mehta's position from the Gomez case and continue to do that same thing, which he's now reiterated is the reason he's awarding the win. So I think that's actually very important for DV 2021, and it will hopefully help us get DV 2022 out of a mess that that could be coming for DV 2022 as well. Okay, so that's the main stuff of what I wanted to say. Let's have a look at your comments here and just see let's see what you're talking about. So I'd like to focus on DV 2020 and this particular judgment. Okay, I'd like to focus that way. So let's see, and I'm going to get questions which are not to do with that, and I'm going to try and ignore those, frankly. Let me take this one. Is there any chance for Afghanistan DV winner 2021 due to the emergency situation? Let me just say my heart's breaking for Afghanistan, for the Afghan people. The diversity winners in Afghanistan at the moment, first and foremost, need to take care of their safety. If you believe that you're not safe because of the new regime, the new government that is in charge, and having paperwork, for example, around the house that would cause you problems if your house was to be searched, get rid of all that paperwork, scan it, take a photo of it, do whatever you have to do. But anything that that would cause you to lose safety, just take sensible precautions about that first and foremost. You can find a way to replace a document, and you don't need documents like your DS260 printed out or your DV lottery win. All of those are online. You don't need those things that will show that you're working with, trying to emigrate to the USA. So that's first and foremost. Secondly, and to answer your question, I don't know what's going to happen for Afghan DV winners in DV 2021. I suspect we're going to need some sort of preservation of visas, just like we got last year, just like we've just won in DV 2020. We're going to need that sort of preservation in DV 2021. There is no more time left. But it's clear that the Afghan embassy, the embassy in Afghanistan, is not going to be reopened. Probably, forget it for another year, maybe 2 years. It could be longer than that. Who knows when that's going to be reopened? The embassy is completely empty, and so operations in Afghanistan won't be possible. And I don't know what travel options you'll have. So it's really impossible at the moment to talk about how you'll process your case. And and as I say, the main thing is just focus on your safety. Okay. So Kennedy plaintiffs won't be given any special preference. No. No, there's no special preference for any of the cases in there. The judge has said it's a random order. He has not said that the Kennedy plaintiffs should have any priority over anyone else. Don't forget also that the Kennedy case came in very late. It was an attempt to sort of get a preference, but it came in after the other cases. And the other cases, Akka, Mohammed, Fongjong, etc., generally speaking, those plaintiffs were helped during September of last year. And so I'm sure the judge has decided there was no need to sort of give any special preferential treatment to Akka, Mohammed, Fongjong, and presumably just decided, that Kennedy was late to the ball game, and so gave nothing particularly special for that. But a Kennedy plaintiff has got the same chance as anyone else. And we'll have to see exactly what the random order, what that ordering will mean. We don't know at the moment, right? Will it truly be random? Will it be by case number? I suspect it will be by case number, but we'll have to wait and see how that's actually implemented. Okay. Right. This is an interesting question. Will this order affect the amount of work that KCC are processing at the moment for DV 2021? No, it won't. There's no effect. This is about DV 2020. However, it does show us how Judge Mehta is thinking. It shows that not only did he agree with us last September and he caused action to happen, he then preserved visas, and he's now decided that he has the authority to force the government to issue those visas. That was by no means certain that he would decide that, and he's now decided that, right? And so what's good about that is it shows it gives him a path, if you like, to do the same thing for DV 2021. Now, if Michael Corleone, who's one of the Twitter followers, I noticed he mentioned something about will we get an early September order from Judge Mehta on DV 2021? I actually don't think we were going to get that. I suspect what he's going to do is try and encourage the government to work as much as possible between now and the end of September, and perhaps issue an order for the Good Luck case at least, and perhaps the Rosales case towards the end of the month, or even at the end of the month in September. Just a guess, I don't know. For Go, there could be a faster decision, and it's clear how he's thinking. But Go was at a more advanced state than the other cases, and so there's a chance for Go to get some sort of faster result. But we'll have to see. It's just speculation on my part at the moment. Okay. What advice would you give us, DV 2020, who with already expired documents? Generally, what urgent step should we take now? Good question. Okay, so number one, I would, if I were you, obtain new police certificates. Police certificates are valid now for up to 2 years after issuance, but it wouldn't harm you at all if you are living in the country right now. Whatever country you're living in right now, get an updated police certificate, right, in the hope that you can get an interview later. I would do that. Your other police certificates from countries that you were in previously will probably still be valid. They'll actually take those police certificates. If you haven't been back to that country, they'll accept those police certificates for later than 2 years. But 2 years is a long time, obviously, so you may find that your police certificates are still valid. But yes, I would go ahead and get those. And I'm saying that because, in general, police certificates take a bit of time to obtain, and they're relatively cheap to get, right? You may pay a few dollars, not very much money for processing fees, but generally speaking, if it's not expensive, then yes, go ahead and get that. I would not say the same thing about a medical. Don't go ahead and book a medical right now. That would be stupid. You have no idea when you're going to get interviewed. We have no idea how this is going to be implemented. Don't go ahead and start booking medicals and clog up the system for DV 2021 people, etc. On the basis of this announcement, right? Don't try and do that. For people that were at the embassy, where their cases were at embassy, either because you were on administrative processing, or your case was scheduled in September, but you couldn't get there on time, or something like that. Any of those cases where your case was already at the embassy, you couldn't get rescheduled. You had a March, April, May interview, but they were cancelled, and so you couldn't get re-interviewed, or you had already been interviewed in February, March, that sort of timeline, and you're on an AP. Contact the embassy as soon as you like, right? Over the next few days. If you contact them tomorrow, they're going to tell you you're mad. They're not going to have heard of this judgment, right? So don't contact them tomorrow. Wait a few days for the government and the lawyers to figure out how they're going to implement this. But pretty soon, contact them and see if you can, through working with the embassy, see if you can get yourself processed quickly. You in those positions, people that have already had their interview, people that were already scheduled for interviews and that sort of thing, in my mind, you deserve that opportunity, probably more so than others who didn't even get to that point, where you've already had your interview, you've paid for your interview and that sort of thing. So go ahead and do that, right? And work with the embassy, and you might find that some of the embassies at some point are given permission to reactivate the cases. Now, I don't know for sure if they've still got all the documents from last year, if they still got the cases. There may be some difficulties with that. Again, we'll have to figure that out. But it wouldn't harm you, particularly if you've got an embassy that communicates well. It wouldn't harm you to go ahead and contact them, and over the next few days, after the next few days, let's say the beginning of next week or something like that, begin to contact them and ask them gently, politely, but optimistically, is there any way to reactivate your case? So that's probably about all I've got to say about that question, Lambert. I hope that's covered that for you. What case number do you think? No idea, because the order says for them to do that randomly. And we don't know whether that's going to be random order, truly a random order, or case number order, or what order that could be. We have no idea. So there's no point in trying to predict which cases will get a visa and which won't. I just can't do that. Right? I'm a fellow winner of DV 2021. Live in Afghanistan. Beautiful picture of your child there. Yeah, they're just transporting SIVs. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy that they're transporting SIVs and trying to get people out, because those people are definitely targets for the new regime, the Taliban government. If you were a translator for the American Armed Forces, that's not going to go well for those people and their families. So they need to get those people out for sure. And hopefully, if you're a DV winner and you're not in that position, just lay low, take all the precautions you can. As to what will happen in DV 2021, I don't know. But this judgment on the Gomez case gives me significant hope that we can achieve a similar sort of resolution for DV 2021 and extend the time. And this is what I've been saying for several months now, that the preservation of visas, as we got last year, would be important. It's the only hope that a lot of cases have got in DV 2021. And, and your case is the same as that. It's, that's your only main hope now. Anyway, good luck to you in Afghanistan. I think most of us on this call, I'm sure, our hearts are bleeding for your country right now. It's heartbreaking. It really is. Anyway, good luck to you. And I'm not a religious person, but may your God protect you, for all of you in Afghanistan, for those of you that have faith. So DV 2020 winner, Ushmita, AS74, status ready for scheduling. You'd not got, no, don't contact. So in your position, you were ready for scheduling, but KCC had never sent your case to the embassy. So there's no point in you contacting the embassy right now, okay? You'll have to wait for KCC to do something with your case, and you'll also have to wait until, until the August 25th deadline, when they're going to try and sort of do some sort of organization about timelines and presumably methods and how this will operate. We'll know more over the coming days, okay? Mohammed, any good news for DV 2020 winners? Yes, that's the point of this call. So I'm DV 2020, says Hikano. Have confirmation of my case number. Do I have a chance? You have a chance. Not everybody in DV 2020 is going to get their chance. But if you think about it, not everybody in DV 2020 listens to my channel or subscribes to Curtis's or Chuck's Twitter or whatever. A lot of people just won't know what's happening, and by the time they do know what's happening, those of you that are better informed and have been listening and have been waiting patiently will hopefully be able to take some action to get your cases pushed through. And so the fact that you're listening in now gives you a better chance, but still there's nothing guaranteed. Okay, I'm going through this. Do you think Go cases will get priority? I think I already addressed that. Yeah, I think I already addressed that. What time? Time, we don't know. That's in the order. They've got to work out the time. All right, Miranda? So we'll see. You had a cancelled invite due to COVID, and the case was under the Muslim ban. Should I contact the embassy to reschedule? Yes. Aladdin, just wait for a few days. If you contact the embassy today or tomorrow or in the next few days, next couple of days, they're not going to know anything about this judgment. Okay, it's going to take time to filter down to the embassies. and so you'll be wasting your time to an extent. So unless you have the ability to sort of pick up the phone to the local embassy and have a conversation, they'll just be they won't know what's going on, and they won't take any action until instructed by the central government. This is highly unusual. They won't believe this, right? They will tell you that this is bullshit. They won't believe that this judgment has happened. And so don't waste your time for the next couple of days. Just wait for a few more days after that and then contact them. But yes, in your particular situation, the fact that your appointment was cancelled, to me, means that you should get some sort of ability to reopen your case and perhaps get a quick scheduled interview with the embassy. But just wait for a few days until it's a bit more clear. Okay. Is there going to be new 2NLs for September? I don't know. There has been a sort of a rush to do some stuff over the last few days for DV 2021. I'm not entirely sure why the government have done that. Frankly, it seems a bit odd. They went quiet for a few days and then they've done a little flurry of work. Don't know why. But they're clearly also starting to move on to DV 2022. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. Well, this doesn't quite make sense, Hassan, but will the judgment in the DV 2020 be without priorities too? Oh, I see. I don't know. I can't answer that question. I'm not going to try and predict what Judge Mehta will do in terms of prioritization for the next case. But he did give a prioritization to Gomez, the plaintiffs of Gomez, Aka, Mohammed, Fongjong, right? He gave them a prioritization during last year, during the period from September 4th to September 30th. Beyond that, he's not given any further prioritization in this particular order. What that means about DV 2021, it is too early to speculate. Quick one on DV 2021. I don't know what the Sri Lankan embassy will do. They are working on other cases. You're absolutely right. They've deprioritized DV cases and cancelled all the DV cases. I thought that was pretty shitty, frankly. But I don't know what's going to happen. It's just impossible to say. The most important thing is that we get a preservation of visas. Okay, that's going to be the biggest, most important deal in DV 2021 because, frankly, there is not time. I mean, we're August 17th. There's not time to schedule enough interviews in September. That ship has already sailed. Just people don't seem to be understanding this. There isn't enough time to sort of solve all the problems in that timeline. So we need extra time, and an order like happened in Gomez is what we need. And an order to actually release the visas, as we've just received today, that's what we need for DV 2021. Okay, so. Is there anything about the order of processing for Moscow embassy winners in the judgment? No, of course not. There's no embassy that is being called out for special treatment, and there won't be. Moscow has got particular challenges, of course, because the embassy is closed. But they're not going to get into. The judge is not going to get into specifics about that. And as I predicted, and as I've told you guys before, he's not even got into specifics about how the ordering should go. He's just told them, choose a random order and process the 9,095 visas, right? So, he's not concerned with the fairness to one particular person or another. He's not concerned with the fairness of one embassy or a country or another. He's just tried to make a high-level order that would provide some benefit, some relief to some people up to 9,095 visas. That's all he's done, and it's for others to decide how that's implemented. Okay. I'm hoping you're listening you're listening along with what we're saying here. The judge has issued an order saying that the government will have to issue the remaining visas of the 9,095 preserved visas. They will issue those visas. No more than that, but those visas. That in itself is extraordinarily good news. Okay. Randomly, what is it? Abdel Jalil. Randomly, means no particular order, right? Now, the government could say, okay, we heard you, judge, randomly, but we're going to implement it this way, and we'll have to wait and see what the lawyers say about that, whether the lawyers allow the government to go, for example, in a case number order, or it simply becomes random. I'm thinking there will be a certain amount of frustration and concern with the way that the cases are chosen. There's probably going to be some perceived unfairness, but a win like this isn't enough to give everybody satisfaction, but it's going to give a lot of people satisfaction. Okay. Okay. Okay, so this is a good clarification that Narek is asking here. No matter if your group is first or fifth. Now, some of you may not know what Narek is talking about there, but I categorized cases last year into various categories, and the fifth category were people that were not documentarily qualified and not ready for scheduling, and there's a lot of those sort of cases. Those cases are not going to be, in my opinion, treated as fast as other cases. There is no prioritization that's been done for Kennedy plaintiffs or any other plaintiffs in this order. And so the government are going to say, well, okay, we've already got, 15, they'll probably say we've got 15,000 people who are documentarily qualified. We'll choose that group to receive the visas, which is, that would be bad news for category 5 people, and frankly unfair in many ways, because they screwed up the whole thing about who became documentarily qualified. But we'll have to wait and see exactly what happens about that. I'm feeling like they're going to stick with categories 1 through 4, and 1's probably already handled, but but probably not category 5. We'll have to wait and see. There is, without having, for example, if you were a Kennedy plaintiff and you were in category 5, you were certainly hoping for some prioritization from the Kennedy case, to get you through ahead of other people, and that hasn't happened. So, so that's probably bad news for people in that particular position. Quick question on AP. How long does AP last? When you're missing a document or something, it varies. Just be patient. Generally a few days after you provide the document, but it can be longer. So just be patient. Okay. Will there be any interviews between 1st of October and the end of December? Yes, there will be some. I assume you're meaning for DV 2020-2022. There will be some, yes. There just won't be very many. And it remains to be seen when the 2020 DV 2020 visas and interviews will be done. Maybe those will actually take up, some of that processing time in October, November, December. We'll have to wait and see. Okay. Right. Yeah, so Thapa, your interview was scheduled in April and it was cancelled then, I presume, and you didn't get rescheduled at the end of September. The only thing is that obviously you're going to be dealing with the embassy, who are still not scheduling interviews. So it'll be very interesting to see how the government reacts with embassies that are closed or prioritizing low, and what else is in the order to say, actually, these 9,095, you need to get on with it now. I'm sure the lawyers are probably going to say, look, these people have waited long enough. Enough with this priority, 4 bullshit. you need to take these DV 2020 cases as a priority and get them scheduled straight away. I hope the lawyers can cause that to happen. They will probably have to go back to the judge to make that clear, and perhaps get even a further order from the judge to make that clear, to overcome the low prioritization of DV cases. So we'll see. But I can't. The order's just come out an hour or so ago, so I can't be more specific than that. Okay. Yeah. So you're a which one? Got that email? I live in. Are we? Your good luck plaintiffs. Yeah. So you will still need you're going to need a preservation of a visa's order, and so we'll have to wait and see if that happens, Anne. Okay. Okay. MT, you had an interview on the September 29th, 2020, and your medical was delayed, and so you lost your chance to get your visa. In this particular case, you may be able to get them to reopen your case. Of course, you will need to get your medical redone. Now, if your medical was delayed because of a TB test that took 3 months, for example, then you're still going to have that same problem again now. You'll probably have to have another 3 month delay while you get another test, because you're going to need a new medical. But I don't know the specifics of why your medical was delayed. But if you think you can get a fast medical, then yes, as I discussed earlier, you'll be able to contact the embassy and see if you can get your case reopened. Okay, which will be really good. How does the ruling really force KCC to process the cases? What if they stall, delay, or don't process at all? Has done in the past? Who's ensuring that it's going to be done? That's not a question. This is a lawful order from a federal judge. To ignore a lawful order from a federal judge will get someone in contempt of his court. So they're not going to ignore this order. You're saying that, as has done in the past? No, that's not happened before. They didn't ignore his order. They complied with the orders perfectly well. And on September 14th last year, when it was pointed out that they were still doing some things wrong, he adjusted his order and gave another order to make sure they were doing things right. It wasn't that they were ignoring any part of the order. It's just that the order had not been specific enough at that point. So no, you're worrying for nothing there, Roby. They're going to comply. So there is no chance. I don't know that for a fact, but I think that's probably going to be the case. We'll have to wait and see how they organize things. I can't really be 100% certain about that. I would love to be proven wrong, but I suspect that's what it's going to be like. Yeah, we don't know when they're going to start processing this, so we'll have to wait and see about that. Okay. Yeah, so this is an interesting question. When Sri Lanka, you're saying who is causing the instructions? Who's giving the instructions to the embassy in Sri Lanka to say that they had to cancel the interviews? I'm intrigued about that question too. I don't know who gave that instruction, because the embassy, in the way they worded their announcement that they were cancelling, they said something along the lines of, we will see when we're allowed to schedule cases. Who's allowing them? Who told them not to? I don't know. I'd be interested to find out the answer to that. We'll have to wait and see whether we get an answer about that. Okay. Supposing Judge Mehta makes the same judgment for DV 2021 by reserving some visas, who will be the beneficiary? Yeah, don't know. I can't predict that. It depends how many cases he. So there's tons of stuff. How many cases he was to preserve? How many visas would he preserve? On whose case would he do that? Would it come from the Go case? Would it come from the Rosales case, which would there's a request to turn that into a class action? Would it come from the Good Luck case? I don't know. I can't possibly predict that. Nobody can. And, so I'm not going to pretend that I know some special information. I certainly don't. Okay. Uzma, you're asking about your Go plaintiff. I don't know. You have to wait and see what happens for Go in particular. They are expecting, I think Chuck and Co are expecting to have an order before the other cases, and that may give some help to get you documentarily qualified faster. They may find your documentation. As it is at AS29K, they probably never got to your documents because they went in case number order, which you can clearly see. I've described that. I've already described how it works and why we're seeing the pattern of scheduled interviews that we see. Right, the data is very clear, and they would never have got to your AS29 case. So the only chance of them getting to your case is if the Go case in particular wins, and the judge tells them you've got to take care of all of those 930 people or whatever it is. Okay. Evening, Puda. How you doing? What's your take on pushing consulates to process DV 2020 if they don't process them currently? I think that's what I just referred to, Puda. I'm thinking that the lawyers are going to have to deal with that. They can't take this order in good faith and then apply the tiered system to it and say, yeah, we'll get around to them whenever, right? So that discussion has to come up, and it may take either an agreement between the parties, and the government haven't been agreeing very much, but an agreement between the parties about how to make that happen, how to sensibly get these cases processed, maybe to try and say, look, we'll do them within the first 3 months of the DV 2022 year. We're going to push them through, and they won't be prioritized at tier 4, right? Maybe they'd be treated as special cases, particularly with the mission critical comments that are in the order. But I do suspect that the lawyers are going to have to deal with that, and we may need a sort of an update to the order to make that very clear, that these cases are to be treated as mission critical and not treated as tier 4 priority. And that's a good thing, frankly. That can only help us in the long run for other cases. David, no, they didn't get an increase. It's 9,095, not 20,000. 9,095 is what it is. There's no more than that. That does mean that some people will miss out for sure. But I don't think, and I'm just being a bit coy here, I don't think we ever needed 20,000, right? The actual number of people that needed visas is probably less than the 20,000 that they asked for. And I had discussed this. Perhaps I should just sort of, talk about this at some point. But I had discussed this with the lawyers and made my feelings known. I don't think there was a need to get the 20,000, frankly. But 9,095 is not enough. I do appreciate that. And so, some people will miss out. Who it is, I don't know. It's not likely to be people, I'm hoping, that listening to me and are keeping in close contact with the case. So we'll see. Okay. Georgia, you're absolutely right. For those of you that pray for Afghanistan. The people need it. Punya, do I need to make another police certificate? Stay 4 months more. Yeah, go and get another police certificate. If it costs you $15, who cares? Get on with it. Go do that, right? Just do that to protect yourself. Kesar, how fast is the processing time for AOSs under the DV program? You're a 2022 winner. Based on my experience. Okay, well, you may not know, I did actually process a DV case through adjustment of status myself personally. And I can tell you that it's faster than normal adjustment of status. When you go on the website, they'll say adjustment of status cases take 10 months, 11 months, or whatever the timeline. DV cases go faster than that, normally a couple of months, but there isn't a sort of an absolute sort of guarantee that it will be done within a couple of months, but it's roughly in that timeline, 2-3 months is normally possible. I've seen cases that started in September or August and got through in time, right? So it is possible to get an AOS adjustment of status DV case through very, very quickly. So don't worry about the timeline, just go for that. If you've got adjustment of status possibilities, that's a pretty good way to do things. There's no deadline mentioned in the order, no, FOS 1. No deadline is mentioned, but there is a timeline discussion that's going to happen about when these will be issued, and we'll hear more about that over the next week or two. Okay. Okay. Yes, there's good news, Mohammed. Rewind. We've got the 9,095. Due to medical hold, I think that's the same as an answer I gave earlier. So I think you should be clear. Your husband is already in the US after receiving his 2020 visa. You're unable to attend the visa. Is there any chance for you to get the visa now? Almost certainly not, Shashika. Basically, when your husband got his visa and went to the States, he ended the DV case, essentially. And so he needs to now file an I-130 for you now and do a family-based immigration. You're welcome to ignore that piece of advice and you can try. But I don't think your case exists anymore because your husband is now in the USA and that ended a certain part of the DV case. That's how I think it works. You could speak to a lawyer and confirm or deny that if you want. Feel free to do that. When was your visa expired from? Fofana. Why is your visa expired? So there are a group of people that that had visas issued in sort of January or February, etc., and their visas expired. Some people were able to get reissued later on in the year, and some people weren't. I'm not sure which of those you were in. If you got your visa reissued in September, then you were protected by the 6-month order that we got in February. I think it was February 24th. And so there's a bit of time, literally just a very short time for people that have those visas to enter under that. But I don't believe they're going to be reissuing any more visas, whether it's from that group or from the other group. They'll need to be dealt with separately. There is another lawsuit. I think it's a part of the ACCA case that is trying to protect the rights of those particular people, the people that did not have a visa reissued in September. So please make sure you're contacting Chuck Cook and that he is aware of your case. And I think actually there's an AILA sign-up sheet as well. You should look into that. But contact Chuck Cook in the first place and see how that goes. Okay. All right. A couple more questions quickly, and then we'll call it a day. Yeah, I knew I was going to get this sort of question, Martin. There's always someone that wants to look on the dark side. Will 2020, will it cause problems for 2021 and 2022? Look, let me put it this way. DV 2021 is seriously in trouble. DV 2022 is seriously in trouble, right? That's a reality. The arguments that have been made and won now in DV 2020 are going to be useful for DV 2021 and DV 2022. And so if there's some impact to DV 2021 and 2 from DV 2020, well, tough luck. That, that's the price you pay for all of that blood, sweat, and tears that went into fighting to get the order that we got last year that is now going to be setting up a decent order for DV 2021 as well. So please, let's not fall into the trap of complaining about DV 2020 cases taking up time. They have waited a year, and they fought like hell, and the lawyers fought like hell, and I fought like hell, so that we could get this judgment, knowing full well that that would help us for DV 2021 and DV 2022. Okay, life is shitty at the moment. COVID crisis is, causing a lot of problems, and this is our best path out of it. So, sit down and wait for the things to get sorted out. Please, let's not be negative about the lost time, as you're putting it. I hope that's very clear. And Martin, I don't mean to pick on you, but I knew I was going to get that sort of comment, and I'm sort of mentally on edge for it, I should say. I just don't want to hear it, frankly. So there you go. Yep, you're going to get a chance now. I hope so. It's not guaranteed, but you got a chance. 2020. Yeah, I'm seeing a few repeated questions here. So we don't know how they're going to process the visas. We don't know the order. The order from the judge says choose a random order, right? They'll be issued in random order. So we'll have to wait and see. Oh, is that right, Malia? Did it really? Let me just check. Has he made a typo? I missed that if he did. He did, you're right. In random order until 9,905. Yeah, that's a typo. The 0 and the 9 are the wrong way around. I'm sure there'll be a correction because he did not preserve 9,905. He preserved 9,095. So good catch, Malia. I'd missed that. That's funny. All right, so just scanning through a few more questions here. I see a lot of questions like this. Shushmita, I don't know what will happen in your case. You're DV 2020 winner, so this is good news for you. And you were scheduled in April 18th, so you've got a good chance. But if you're in Nepal right now, we also need for the judge somehow to tell KDU embassy, Kathmandu embassy, to open and process these cases, right? It's not going to be an easy trick, so you'll have to wait and see. But fingers crossed for you, Shushmita. Okay, it's a beautiful name, actually. All right, so what else? Case was ready for scheduling. Let me understand this one. Anastasia. If the case was ready for scheduling the interview, but the case wasn't sent to the embassy, do you think it's possible to ask the embassy to request the case? No, not really. It doesn't work like that. KCC send out the cases, and you're not really, unless you literally had a personal contact or a very friendly representative at the embassy. I saw a few things like this happen last year, and perhaps there's been a little bit of it this year, but it's rare. It's not normal by any means. And in general, the embassy don't know who the hell you are until KCC send the case. The embassy doesn't know if you're a winner or not. They have no access to your information. Okay. There's always one. There's always one. People just give up now. 2021, it's over. Yeah, okay, donut. It's all these negative people that like to say, "Oh, give up. It's all over. It's all over." Honestly, I've been hearing that for a year. And first of all, we won the case on September 4th. Then we got another order on September 14th. Then we got another order on September 30th, preserving the 9,095. And people like you were saying, "Oh, it's never going to happen." Don't you know? And now we got other orders. We got the visas that were expiring. We got those done. And these are coming out now. There's been some really good lawyering on this, right? Some really hard work has been done on this. It's a shame people like you, Zakaria, can't just relax and let the positivity flow. Why do you have to be negative about it? All right. I don't understand. Let's be positive about things, shall we? There's a life lesson for you from an older man. Yeah. The idea of postponing these visas to FY23 seems the best idea. No, I don't think so. I think that was a stupid idea, actually, Martin. It was suggested by one of the government lawyers, and it was so dumb. It wasn't. People in the room, their jaws hit the floor. It wasn't a smart idea. How long are you going to make these people wait? 2 more years to make these people wait? Because you're concerned about delaying DV 2022? Come on, that's nuts. No, not going to do that. And by the way, I don't think it was even legal. What he said, what the government lawyer was essentially saying was, since the DV 2023 registration period hasn't even been opened yet, let's almost just cancel that, and all of these could be pushed back. He's making up law on the spot there, completely against what Congress has decided. It wasn't even legal, let alone not smart. It wasn't smart and it wasn't legal, and that tells you everything you need to know about that government lawyer. Probably one of the same government lawyers that said I wasn't an expert. Buffoons. Safina, thanks, but yeah, so this will be my last one, I think. But our life in Afghanistan is not safe in the future. Legally, we're the winner. Why the government not attention? Like SIV cases, thousands of people, they are the winner of the DV lottery. Look, I get that you must be incredibly worried. You must be very anxious, scared for your lives. You've got absolutely every reason to be concerned. But there is an absolute difference between the DV cases and the SIV cases. As you well know, the SIV cases were for interpreters and people that helped the American armed forces and their families escape the country. Without that, those people are, they're not going to make it, right? For DV cases, it's not quite the same, right? I don't believe your information is in the embassy in any way. I don't think your information can be found. So as long as you're quiet, as long as you're not coming up on the radar of the present regime, then I hope you can be safe to just wait until you can be processed, okay? So there's an absolute difference there. So, in terms of the SIV cases, they've got to deal with that first. You've seen the chaos at the airport. They're trying to make that better. It's heartbreaking to see what happened at the airport. But they've got to get American citizens out and other foreign nationals and SIV cases, and they need to do those things. And they can't just open up the same gates for, other types of cases like DV. It's just not going to happen. Let's be realistic. But good luck with your situation anyway. As I say, it's heartbreaking. Okay, so this is really good news for DV 2020 cases. As I say, I think this is also really important for DV 2021. So I'm very glad this judgment has come through finally. It's been a long, long time to wait for people to have to wait for this, but Judge Mehta has made a series of really good decisions. He won't have pleased everybody. There's going to be somebody who's going to be pissed off because we didn't get more visas. I know, I understand that, but he's trying to deal with the law, and he's trying to come up with a lawful decision first and foremost, something that can be justified by law. And that may not necessarily seem like the fairest decision for everybody, and it certainly won't be a generous decision, but it will be a lawful decision driven by and supported by law. And that's important because it has to stand. It can't be something that could be attacked by an appeal. It has to stand. So, what we've got is good. Let's be grateful for that, and let's hope that everybody listening to this now in DV 2020, I hope all of you will get the visas, for from the 9,095. Fingers crossed. Okay, everybody. Thanks for getting on quickly with me this evening, or tomorrow, wherever that is. And over the next few days, we'll hear more and look to the Twitter feed of Curtis and Chuck and others. I think Chuck is on holiday at the moment, but there'll be announcements from Greg or from Chuck, etc., and from Raphael and from Curtis about what this means, and a bit more detail coming out from the order itself. Some really good insights, I'm sure. Okay, so congratulations to all of you from DV 2020, and fingers crossed for DV 2021 and 2. All right. Okay, everybody, have a good evening. Bye-bye.